more people to come. And Juicy's just pressing, telling me where to press record. There we are.
I know, I like a little like head popping in.
Okay, all right. So I will come back in a minute. So we've got 34 people here. So we're going to make a start.
Oh,
so
see everyone.
Yeah, I can't put on gallery view and you can't because you're now too far away. So let me just welcome you all. What I want to do is I'm going to do a very short, she says she can't, hang on a minute. Right, I'm going to, Gail, I will deal with your question in a minute. You should be able to see, but if not, I'll come back to that in a moment. We'll come back to tech support in a minute. I've got a backstreet webinar driver. Okay, so everybody with us today is Camille Vidal. We do a lot of work with Camille because I believe that very good alcohol-free cocktails are a wonderful thing. And because I don't make very good alcohol-free cocktails and a bad cocktail could ruin the whole of the sector, I always make sure everyone comes to Camille. She's an expert at making cocktails that you can make at home, and that's what she's going to do for you today. So I'm going to flip over the video to her. She will introduce herself and do everything beautifully, and I will deal with your questions on the side. So welcome, Camille.
Thank you so much for having me. Welcome to my living room, to my mindful cocktail bar. Thank you so much. This is such an amazing opportunity, even though I can't see you all, and I wish I could see you, but I think it's a beautiful opportunity to build a community, to share a moment together, to share this beautiful Saturday afternoon together, to give you a little bit of like an idea of like what I do, what is La Maison Wellness, and how I came to this world of cocktails and making mindful cocktail. So my name is Camille Vidal. I am the founder of La Maison Wellness, and I spent the last 15 years working in the hospitality industry. I work as a bartender in so many different places. If you're wondering where my accent is from, you probably guess it, but I am originally from the south of France. And then 12 years ago, I left France and I moved to Australia, and I worked in cocktail bars in Melbourne. Then I came here to London. I went to New York for a few years after that. And so I had the opportunity to really travel all around the world to experience the creativity and the beauty of bars and the way that they bring people together. I think that for me, finding balance was always something really important. And then because I work with different spirits company and really had the opportunity to talk about the art of the aperitif and bringing the French culture into the celebration that I was sharing more and more this idea of finding balance, but also becoming more mindful when it comes to what we put in the glass became a very big focus for me and something that I was really passionate about. And I realized that there was, you know, more and more people wanted to become mindful drinker, more and more brands being launched, an amazing product coming into the market. But then there wasn't that many cocktails, and there wasn't that many way of like, you know, sharing how delicious and how exciting the mindful drinking movement could be. And so I decided to launch La Maison Wellness as a way to really inspire people to drink well and to live well. And as you just said, Laura, I think that like until you taste something and you're like, oh wow, that's delicious, I could definitely drink that. It's harder to see how to embrace that mindful drinking movement. So my goal is very much to take all this mindful cocktail recipe and to bring it to the world, to bring it to you, for you to be able to make them at home, to order, you know, at the bar when we're able to go back to the bar, and to really help that movement to grow and to be available in more and more places. Because for me, what I love in hospitality industry is the fact that it brings people together. And I think that like we have more work to do on making bars more and more inclusive, so people that want to moderate like us still can go to bar and have amazing offer. There's more and more places that have non-alcoholic offer on the menu, and I know that like you guys at Club Soda are doing an amazing work at collecting all this like venues in your guides. I'm also working with loads of different venues on helping to develop menus, so when we go back to bars, we would have the opportunity for everyone to have a seat at the table. But so today what we're making is one of the recipes that you can find on my website. So if you visit lamaisonwellness.com, you will find all the different recipes, all my mindful cocktail recipes. They're all organized by time of the day, because I think that sometimes when you decide that you want to become a mindful drinker, and it's a bit like, I want to change my relationship with alcohol, but where to start, what to drink, what do I drink if I want a cocktail at brunch time and in the afternoon and for my dinner, etc. So they're all organized by different time of the day, so that gives you a better idea of what is your palate at, brunch. Is going to be completely different than what it is at, aperitif hour or for your dinner. So this cocktail, I will say, it's more of a daytime cocktail, a good cocktail for like an afternoon cocktail, especially now that like the sun is like peeking out through the window. So I think it's a beautiful summer cocktail, but also one that like you can definitely have more in like spring and fall to feel like it's a bit of a sunshine in the glass. It's really, really simple to make. It's called the Summer Cup. It is not, I also have a YouTube channel. I haven't filmed that one yet, but who knows, I might do it when I'm able to film the YouTube channel again. But so very simple. And the idea behind this cocktail was few things. I wanted to make a cocktail that will look like a Pim's cup and be as delicious, but without any alcohol. I wanted to make a cocktail that was super, super refreshing, and really much this idea of like having something that tastes like summer. And I wanted to make a cocktail that will be with kombucha, which if you are a kombucha lover like Laura and I, it's delicious. But if you haven't tried it, the first time that you have kombucha, it can be a little bit surprising. Kombucha is fermented tea, and there's loads of different varieties of kombucha. They taste completely different one to another. So you also have to find the one that you like. Some of them are flavored with fruit. Some of them are just, they brew the tea and that's all they do. So you have to find the one that is yours and the one that like you really enjoy. But it has a little bit of obviously the fermentation, a little bit of a vinegary kind of like flavor like. And at the first time it can be a little surprising. So I wanted to introduce kombucha into cocktail, and for you to be able to like enjoy that and hopefully to acclimate to the taste, so you can switch your soda for kombucha, or know that like now more and more pubs also have like kombucha on draft, and that's an amazing alternative to alcohol when you go out. The other thing is, I think that like beer is probably in the category of the non-alcoholic, probably a category that is really expanding, and one that has done wonder for the movement, because it's a bit of a no-brainer. Like, if you want to moderate going to the bar and saying, I'm going to have the non-alcoholic beer, it's really easy to do. But I also think that there's people that don't like beer, when in cocktail, it can really taste delicious. And so in this cocktail, I really wanted to introduce those ingredients that sometimes you can be a bit like, oh, I'm not sure I like that. And actually enjoyed it so much in the cocktail when it's blended together. I think that's really the beauty of creating cocktail, is how the creativity and the flavor working together can really create something that is beautiful and delicious. So in this cocktail, all you're gonna need is a rock glass. So this is what we call a rock glass, or a shot glass. You will need ice. So you're gonna fill the glass all the way to the top with ice. And the reason why I say all the way to the top is because I'm sure that many of you have said before, oh, no, I don't want too much ice. Part of you, you're hoping that like your drink will get bigger if there's less ice. But actually the reason why we put so much ice into the glass is in cocktail, what's really important is obviously the flavor, but also the dilution and the temperature of the cocktail. That's really what creates this whole experience. So when a cocktail is at the right temperature, the right dilution, and the beautiful flavor, that's what makes the experience incredible. So by putting ice all the way to the top, you're controlling the temperature and the dilution, and you're making sure that like your cocktail gets cold super quickly, but also that it doesn't dilute too quickly, because the last thing that you want is too much water into your glass. So you're gonna go ahead and fill your rock glass packed with ice. I'm very lucky to have beautiful like ice in my house. So I actually have one big block. So I'm just gonna put one big block into my rock glass. Then the different ingredients that we're using is beer. So you've got a few different options that you can use. I really like using a pale ale. You can also use an IPA. You want something that is quite light, refreshing, and has a little bit of like a fruity taste to it. So Nirvana is amazing. The Big Drop guys also have a beautiful pale ale and an amazing IPA. So you can use one or the other. Then when it comes to kombucha, as I was saying, you have to find the one that like you enjoy, the one that really works for you. So for me, I really like the guys at Real Kombucha. And the reason of that is because I love the way that they brew their kombucha and the fact that they don't add anything to it. So there's no fruit added. So in this, it's very much just the tea and the flavor that you get. So for example, in this Royal Flush, you get a lot of like passion fruit, a little bit of like grapefruit, and that just comes from the tea. So it really depends on what you like. This one is also great, Genuine Kombucha. That's the flavor one, but you have the beautiful, like very, very crisp citrus. And this one is ginger and lemon, and that's beautiful. And then other kombucha that are great. Fixate has like some really, really beautiful kombucha. One that is with strawberry and tulsi that could work really well in this cocktail as well. So those are kind of like your option for that. And then I have a soda, which is made by Colibri. It's in this bottle because I already opened it. But they have loads of different sodas. The beauty of it is they all have on the top of their soda this little agave syrup dose into the top of the bottle. And so you can kind of like add as much or as little as you want to sweeten your soda. So the one that we're using today is strawberry and basil. And you can add a little bit of the agave. I already added it into the bottle. But if you were doing that, if you don't have that soda, that's totally fine. You could use, for example, Square Root has like a beautiful strawberry soda. I know that like it's seasonal, but I'm pretty sure that the strawberry are in season at the moment, so they should have it. So you can kind of like, I always say that like cocktail, there is a structure, and you have to balance between, you know, the sour, the sweet, the flavor that you add into your cocktail. But then you can kind of like, you know, replace things with what you like. So for example, if you don't like basil, you could replace it with like rosemary or maybe thyme. Or if you don't like strawberry, you could maybe add another fruit, you know, another berry, or even go to something completely different and say, I'm actually going to move on to more like peach and things like that. So you can really pick what works for you. I actually see that there's question popping, but I can't read the screen from there. So Laura, jump in if you have any question and feel free to ask.
I will ask the questions at the end, Camille. So you carry on, and I've got a note of them. Everyone will know that I'm going to ask questions afterwards.
Amazing. So again, you know, so imagine that like making cocktail is like cooking. You kind of want to follow a recipe, but then there's a little bit of like room for you to be creative. And again, like I like to measure when I make cocktails, and there are a few reasons of that. I think that like there is a precision that is important when you make cocktail, but also if you make something delicious and you kind of like pouring everything and you can't remember what was the measurement and what you put into the glass, then that means you can't make it again. So I always recommend using a jigger, which is this beautiful tool that measure. This is one of my favorite jigger, and if you go on my website, there's actually a page that says equipment, and it's all the tools that I recommend when it comes to making cocktails. So if you are as passionate of cocktail as I am, or just a little passionate, I will definitely recommend getting yourself a jigger and maybe even a shaker. But if you just like making a few at home, you can always use a spoon. That's kind of like a small one, but if you use a tablespoon will be roughly and normally will be like 15 ml. So you can use that, or you can use like one of those like small glassware. So very, very simple. It's going to be equal part for all the ingredients that we're using today. I'm going to start pouring the kombucha first, and we're going to put 60 ml of the kombucha. You could also do it with pots, so it's kind of like depends on like as long as you keep the ratio, which will be 1 part of each. All right, so you just want to make sure that it's equal part. So I'm going to put 60 ml directly into my glass. To that, I'm going to add the beer. That's my years at the university. I know how to open a beer with a spoon. So 60 ml or the same as the kombucha directly into the glass. And then I'm just going to add this strawberry basil soda where I already added a little bit of the agave. And again, if you don't have agave at home, you can use, always taste your cocktail. Everyone has a different palate. Some people like it sweeter than other. So have a little taste now. And if you feel like you want to add a little bit of sweetness sometimes helps to really bring the flavor out as well. So if you want to add a little bit of sweetness, you could add agave syrup. When you buy agave syrup, make sure that you buy organic blue agave, so it's the best quality of it. You can use raw honey as an amazing sweetener as well, and you can use maple syrup. I tend to gravitate around those three. Then there's loads of different ones, and again, you can have a look at maisonwellness.com. There's a whole page on sweetener when I explain what is monk fruits and birch syrup and things like that. That are some amazing alternatives to refined sugar. But I will say that raw honey, maple, and agave are definitely some of the ingredients that you want to add into your cocktail. And then that's it. So you have pretty much everything. What you want to do is grab a spoon and give a gentle stir so all the ingredients are mixed together. And then I'm going to have to find a knife because I realized that I don't have a knife. Here you go. And then, so with your knife, you kind of want to garnish. So I'm going to do lime and lemon, and then some fresh basil and half of a strawberry. You know, again, I mean, we are in isolation. So depending on what you're having to your house, you can add if you have orange, grapefruit, whatever citrus you have. And then for the fruit, if you don't have strawberry, you can use another berries, depending on what you're adding into your cocktail. So find something that will complement the flavor of your drink. And then you can really smell that, even just by cutting the citrus, it's already so refreshing and really uplifting. The essential oil that is into the citrus, and especially things like lemon, orange, are very, very uplifting. So that will really bring your energy up. So then you can just add that into your glass and then cut a strawberry in half. Because, strawberry cut in half are the cutest garnish. And then I really, really like the combination of strawberry and basil together. I think it smells really beautiful. And then you could also use mint if you wanted to, if basil is you like it on your pizza, but not so much into your cocktail. But then if you're using mint or basil, you kind of want to clap your fresh herb just to release the essential oil into your cocktail. And then just garnish it. Oh, I feel like my basil leaf is a bit sad. I'm gonna find a nicer one. Here you go. Perfect. And so this is your summer cup. So easy to make at home. Also, one thing that is quite good with this cocktail is you could have a jug at home. Don't put any ice into the jug, but put ice in the glass. And then you can just actually maybe put the whole bottle of all the ingredients and then just pour that and have that on the table. I think that making cocktail at home is amazing, and especially when you sharing a cocktail moment with friends. But the last thing you want to do is just spend your time in the kitchen making drinks all the time. So having recipes that are that simple, that can be just mix in the jug and then you have that on the table and everyone can pour themselves, is a nice way to have something that is delicious, flavorful, and very refreshing. And I think that I don't know if any of you are actually making at home, but if you taste it, you can feel that it's balanced. It has some complexity. It's really refreshing. It feels really sophisticated. And I think that sometimes when it comes to the non-alcoholic, it's a bit of you know, you feel like you just order something from the kids menu, or you like go on to like the sugary soda, and having something that feels like sophisticated, delicious, and a real like experience is the beauty of cocktail. And really what I'm trying to do with La Maison Wellness is to reshape the conversation around what is a cocktail, and the fact that alcohol doesn't have to be part of the equation. You know, you can make something that will taste delicious and have an amazing moment with your friend, and have something that like is a cocktail. Like cocktail, the definition of cocktail doesn't say that it has to be boozy. You know, I always say tasty doesn't have to be boozy, and I will definitely always pick flavor over hangovers. Absolutely, any day. But yeah, cheers, everyone.
Thank you so much, Camille. So I'm going to ask you some questions.
Great.
And I suspect we can chip in. First of all, there's a very particular question. So there's agave in this cocktail because the Colibri gives you a little cap of it to sweeten the Colibri. But you don't necessarily need to use agave if your ingredients are already sweet enough, do you?
No, you don't. And again, like it really depends on your taste. You don't have to add agave at all. And I will say have a little taste, and if for you it feels balanced, that's perfect. I think that like I always try to stay away from refined sugar in my cocktails, but then a sweetener is important in a cocktail to really balance out the flavor, you know, to really brings out the flavor. But I will tend to like go to alternative like as I was saying, honey, maple, or agave are delicious and highly available alternative. But then things like monk fruit actually are amazing because they have no impact on your blood sugar. So there is some really incredible alternative of sugar there, like birch syrup is also very beautiful. But again, you know, I find it that like with the ingredients that we're using, it's actually you don't need to add the sweetener. And also because you're adding things like strawberry, even if it's as a garnish, the aroma is actually quite sweet because of the strawberry. And obviously a big part of like tasting a cocktail, a big part of the flavor comes from the aroma. So I find that like sometimes if there's a little bit of like sweetness on the nose, you actually don't even need to add anything into the glass.
And that comes on to another question that we get an awful lot, which is there's an assumption that the new wave of alcohol-free are very sugary. And actually that's not the case at all. Like kombucha's really, really low in sugar. Any sugar that it's made with is for the SCOBY, not for you. Alcohol-free beer has no sugar in. And so actually you can make all of these lower sugar. And if you go into a cocktail bar where they start to use children's sodas to make you a cocktail, then tell them to stop, right?
Absolutely. And I think that like that's actually the first comment that I get when people try my mindful cocktail. They will say, oh my God, it's delicious and it's not sweet. And I'm like, where have you been drinking cocktails so far? Because I think that like very often when it comes to mocktail, which is very much of a word that I stay away from, people will tend to just like blend juices together. You know, it would be like, I'm going to add some orange juice with some cranberry juice and a bit of a garnish. And I think that like you can really find the balance. You can really find the balance of the ingredients, and then sometimes I add a little bit of like something, but again, if I add sweetener, I will add something that actually has some more depth than just refined sugar for no reason, you know. So it's about finding that balance, but there's absolutely some incredible ingredients out there that have no sugar at all.
Yeah, and also these are all lower calorie products. So this new wave of drinks coming onto the market are all designed for adults, and they know that you don't want sugar and all of those sort of things, and they're keeping them very low calorie. Another question that somebody asked is, can you use a simple syrup? And why wouldn't you use sugar in these? Why wouldn't you use just refined sugar and stir in a spoonful of sugar into these drinks?
So you can absolutely use refined sugar. That's just a decision that I make. Like I am, as part of what I do with La Maison Wellness, I'm also bringing like more of a healing nutrition knowledge into it, which is something that I'm studying, and I will rather use as a sweetener something that has a bit more depth and a bit more function than just refined sugar. You can absolutely use refined sugar. There's nothing wrong with that if you want to use that. I wouldn't use just a spoon of sugar directly into the glass, just because it won't melt, because obviously we're putting ice and it won't melt with the ingredients. So what you want to do, and the way that you will make simple syrup, is really, really easy. You will take hot water and do equal part of hot water with sugar. You will put it in a bottle and then keep it in the fridge, and you can keep that for like probably like 10 days. You would have to keep an eye on it, obviously, because it's a water solution. But yeah, like you can definitely keep it for a week, 10 days, and then you would just mix that in cocktail. But again, like looking at things like monk fruit or birch syrup, you can actually buy that, and it comes in the same like granulated like sugar, and you can actually use it in the same way. And taking like monk fruit, for example, it's way sweeter than sugar, so you use way less, and it has absolutely no impact on your blood sugar. Doesn't spike it in the same way that like sugar would do, or even like honey. It's always good to have it with something else. So that's just a personal decision, because for me, I call my cocktail mindful cocktails, because I'm mindful of the ABV, so the alcohol content that goes into the glass, going from non-alcoholic to low ABV. Is kind of like the max that I will go to, but I'm also aware and conscious of like the other ingredients that goes in. So like if you look at my website, you will find loads of like ingredients that have like turmeric and nettles and things that have functional benefits on your body, and can really elevate the experience in terms of flavor, but also in like what we put in our body. But yeah, simple syrup, you can absolutely do it.
Cool. So the other question is what are the good kombuchas in France, and where can you find them?
Yes, actually, so there's a few. There's one is called Karma, that has some like really, really good, and you can find it in like, I will say, well, if the person is asking me, I believe that person lives in France. So like things like Naturalia or any like organic shop will have it. You can always buy it online. There is a few though, like I know that Karma is there, but I also have done some like a little tasting with another brand that I'm blanking on the name, but if that person send me a little message even on social media, on La Maison Wellness, I will be able to find the name. There's more and more brands available, and I know that there's a couple of like new kombucha from France that are really delicious, including things like jasmine and cherries and like loads of like beautiful flavor.
And you can normally find them in health food shops. So like when I was in Ibiza, I just went and hit all the kombuchas in the health food store and took them back and filled my fridge. Is there an alternative to martini?
Is there an alternative to martini?
Yeah, I know that.
Like the cocktail we're talking about?
What would somebody use if they like martini? What's a good alcohol-free alternative?
But are we talking about martini the cocktail or martini the brand?
Do both.
Okay, so Martini, the brand, actually have just released two beautiful non-alcoholic aperitifs that are absolutely stunning. One is called Floreale and one is called Vibrante. Vibrante is available on the Whiskey Exchange and on Ocado, if you manage to make it to the virtual queue line, which I give up. But if you are a lucky one, you can definitely get it on that, otherwise online. Vibrante is the red one, and it's the red color one, and it's really beautiful, has a lot of depth and complexity. It's really affordable. The price is pretty incredible. It's around, I think, 10 pounds or 12 pounds for the bottle, and it's made with Italian bergamot, so you get a lot of like citrus and bitterness. It's beautiful. And then Floreale is made with chamomile, so it's a bit more floral, but still the Artemisia, so you have a little bit of bitterness. Both delicious and amazing. If you were asking an alternative to the Martini brand, if you're asking for the cocktail, so the cocktail it's a little more tricky, because obviously a martini is stir straight, gin or vodka, that you will, like, depending on how you drink martini, you will have a little bit of like dry vermouth or not. But things like all those like amazing botanicals, like spirits that are coming out, from like seedlip to things like Lyres have an amazing alternative to gin. cedars and things like that could be a base for that. And then I will say that like you can always play with things like a little bit of like bitterness. So you could add, for example, acorn has a dry vermouth, and you could add a little bit of that to give a little bit more structure to your cocktail. I also love working with like, you can find like those, like you can make distillate with like essential oil and mix it with a little bit of oil. You could add a little bit of like, you know, olive brine into your cocktail. So you kind of like have to build the structure, because obviously you won't have the backbone of the spirits, the alcoholic spirits. So you kind of have to build the structure of it. And that can be what you use as a garnish as well. You know, you could do a lemon twist, so that you have very much like the essential oil from the lemon all over your cocktail. And then maybe add like thyme, you know, like a beautiful sprig of thyme that will again add some complexity. And one more thing is like, if you were making a martini with a non-alcoholic spirit, I will stir it, but very, very for like 1 second. I will just like chill it for a second and then pour it, because you don't want too much dilution in all this like non-alcoholic spirits, because they are based, they're water based. You don't want too much dilution. But then if you were adding, for example, acorn, or if you were adding a little bit of like martini floreale, or even Lyre's has an amazing dry aperitif. Those ones are based on de-alcoholized wine. And so, or like for acorn, it's actually verjus, which is never like, it's grapes that are not ripe, that are pressed. So you get the acidity of the grapes, but it hasn't fermented, so you have no alcohol. So all of that, again, they have more structure because they are made from like grapes.
Cool. And definitely, I've put the links for Acorn on, and Acorn is made by the same people that make Seedlip. And I've also put the link for Lyre's. Somebody asked about what's available abroad, and I think you should start looking at Amazon right now, because where in other countries there isn't necessarily the same developed market as here, they're beginning to go onto Amazon. So Lyre's have got their own web shop now, but are also on Amazon. Acorn and Seedlip on Amazon in other countries. Most countries have got good kombucha in the health food stores.
And then also for things like Lyre's, I don't know where this person asking that question, where that person live, but like Lyre's, the e-commerce is available in the UK, the US, and Australia. Yep. So you can have that. And we have a discount code with La Maison Wellness, so you get 20% discount if you use LMW20. So here you go. 20% discount. And I think they do also this like set. So for example, for Lyre's, I created a cocktail called the Orchard Feast. And I think if you buy that set, which is 3 bottles, you actually get 30% off. So it's quite highly available.
Yeah, so they're definitely all there. If you go onto clubsodaguide.com, you can begin to see the range. And then if you search for them, a lot of them are now going on Amazon elsewhere. Now, somebody asked about Rummish, which of course Rummish is in Holland and Barrett, but it's made in Denmark and is now beginning to be available across Europe. Cedars is available across Europe. Rum alternatives, I mean, I quite like Rummish. I'm not sure about what you think, but they've just done some...
Rummish was like one of the first product, and also I think that like the guys behind the brand are amazing. I think it's a beautiful brand. They also have a gin called Ginish. You know, that they're working on loads of different products at the moment. They also just launched their ready to drinks. They're like beautiful little can at your festival, Laura, at the Mindful Drinking Festival. So I really like Rummish because, again, on the nose, it really have this like really strong rum aroma, and again, it works really well in cocktail because you have this aroma. I think I have a recipe on lamaisonwellness.com called the zesty Rummish. So like it's like an old Cuban sort of like variation. So like a daiquiri top up with non-alcoholic sparkling wine, and it's really super simple to make and delicious. So have a look at that. And then other, again, like Lyre's has such a big range, and they actually have 3 different alternatives to rum. One is the white cane sugar, which is like an alternative to light rum. You get a lot of like that's really juicy sugar cane, and then a touch of like banana flavor. It's beautiful. I just made a mojito yesterday on on my mindful happy hour that I do every Friday at 5 p.m. live on La Maison Wellness Instagram. And that's just like a beautiful alternative to rum as well. They also have a spice rum and then a dark rum. They like all of them are really beautiful.
And it's that nice vanilla-y smell that I've realised is what's important to rum. And so, you know, it's about the smell as well as the taste.
Yeah.
It's really important. There was another question. Oh yeah, cordials. Now, actually, cordials, when I gave up 8 years ago, there wasn't anything out there. And so I went mental finding lower sugar, high quality cordials and using a soda stream to make stuff. But cordials are amazing because you can make a nice long drink, but they are also a great base for cocktails, aren't they? How can people get to begin to think about making their own cordials? And have you ever made your own, Camille?
And I have like, again, recipes on the website on like, you know, homemade cordials and syrup that I do, like very simple things, like even just like, you know, cucumber juice, like you juice the whole cucumber, keep the skin on so you get this really, really beautiful bright color. You can add like sugar, or again, you can add like an alternative like monk fruit or birch, and then just a bit of water, and you keep that, and that added to even just as you said soda water is beautiful. So there's loads that you can make. There's also brands that are great, and simple brands like, you know, Belvoir is doing a great job at like doing some delicious cordials, like their blackcurrant, their elderflower, their ginger. They're like available everywhere, and they're pretty delicious. If you want to make something that is a bit more complex, you can absolutely make it at home. Let me know if there's any recipe that you want in particular, and I'm happy to share that. But also, you mentioned a soda stream. Like I have a soda stream and I actually use it quite often because I feel like that when you put bubbles in a cocktail, that makes it even more refreshing. But I also do things like I will, you know, put filtered water in my soda stream, add like rosemary for half an hour, and then carbonate that, and then you get rosemary water, and you add that to just like you know, pomegranate cordial and a touch of kombucha, and that's an amazing cocktail, and it's so simple to make. So yeah, play with like different flavored sparkling water, different cordials, and then I found that adding kombucha to everything makes it even more delicious.
I'm going to answer a question about what is 0.5. So just so you all know, 0.5% alcohol is alcohol free. It's a trace element of alcohol, which is actually naturally present in nearly everything. So bread can be up to 0.5. A ginger beer in the soft drink category, because in the soft drink category doesn't have to have ABV on it, but ginger beer is generally 0.5. And even a ripe banana is 0.3. So it's alcohol free. If you buy a 0.5 drink, that's absolutely fine. You're not breaking your being alcohol free. Even less so when you start adding things into it and lengthening it, because it brings the ABV right down anyway. I mean, I have to let you know the secret that Coca-Cola and all the soft drinks have about 0.05 in them. There isn't anything in this world that doesn't have alcohol in, because alcohol is a flavour extractor. And anything that goes through fermentation has a tiny bit of alcohol, which includes yourself. You have about 2 units of alcohol in your stomach because your stomach ferments. So for all of you who aren't sure about that, this is something I know a lot about, and you must come across a lot as well, Camille.
Absolutely, yeah.
So 0.5 is absolutely fine.
Like the ripe banana, I feel like people are like, oh, okay. You know, then they get it.
You don't need a license to sell 0.5. So when we do the festival, we don't need an alcohol license. So just to let you know all of that. So it comes up a lot because, of course, some products have to have it on the label and others don't. You can buy Bailey's ice cream in Iceland that I can tell you is more than 2 units of alcohol in it, and doesn't have any age ID, and is far more alcoholic than the Remish. So that's right. Would you ever put cider in a cocktail? Alcohol-free cider? Oh yes, I think you did one once with me, didn't you? I think I love having an alcohol-free cider.
Yeah, there's a pear spritz recipe on La Maison Wellness that is with cider. I love cider. Like, and again, like when we're talking about, you know, having cordials, I remember making a recipe with toffee apple and making a cordial with that, and then putting ice and non-alcoholic cider, like a quite dry cider, and that was like beautiful, garnished with rosemary and fresh apple, and that was delicious. So yeah, pear cider is amazing, or apple cider, both delicious. So definitely.
Yeah, if you go on the guide, you'll be able to see some of the ciders, but there's Celtic Marches, which is a brewery, have done a cider called Holly Go Lightly, and they've just brought out a new one, which is, I think, a more cloudy cider, which makes me happy. I have to say, I like kombucha because for me, it's like an alcohol-free scrumpy cider, and I'm a Somerset girl. But there's also, if you go into the supermarkets, there's Stowford Press, there's Thatcher's, and there's another one as well. So if you go onto clubsodaguide.com, you can just type in cider and it will bring up all the ciders. They're beginning to really get there. So
there's a French brand called Maison Wellness as well. They do alcoholic cider, and they just launched a non-alcoholic one. They have like one that is 1%, and the new one is non-alcoholic. So, but even in this cocktail, you could have a play and replace the beer with a non-alcoholic cider as well.
Yeah, and I like
a bit more fruity and a little less depth to it, but it will be absolutely delicious.
Yeah, and I think and there's also things like Square Root Soda do an apple soda as well, and their strawberry soda. Oh, there's so many lovely things out there. I get so excited. Is there any more questions before I let Camille go? Camille, do you want to remind everybody of your website and your YouTube channel?
Yes, so lamaisonwellness.com is the website where you will find all the delicious recipes and loads of inspiration to live like a healthy hedonist, as I call it. The YouTube channel is La Maison Wellness. You can subscribe, and normally it's one video a week. At the moment, it's a bit more, one every 2-3 weeks. But I also do every Friday live on Instagram, Mindful Happy Hour, where I teach how to make a cocktail exactly like this. So you can always watch that, subscribe to the YouTube channel, check out lamaisonwellness.com, and then drop me a message on social media if you have any question on cocktails, or you're like, I really want to make this for this occasion. So yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Camille. Thank you everybody for joining us. There's been over 40 of you here, and then it's going to be, we've recorded it, so it will go up inside the course this weekend, the Sober Weekender, so you can watch it again in your own time.
Thank you so much for having me. Have a beautiful weekend, everyone.
Thank you.
Enjoy the Sober Weekender.
Bye.
Bye.